During the week on the Level 1 Snortcast, DSP had another boardroom meeting. This time, it's all about thumbnails. Phil asks his dents which thumbnail design he should pick for future videos. That is just so dented.
You may or may not have noticed, but already this year, there has been a significant change to my thumbnails. I'm going to show you what I mean right now. Are you ready? So what you see over here is a thumbnail comparison, okay, of what my thumbnails look like on my videos right now when they go live on DSP Gaming. Exhibit A, as labeled with the letter A, appropriately, is what my thumbnails used to look like.
If you browse his channel on occasion, you'll notice how bad his thumbnails are. I'm no king of thumbnails myself, but when you see this video in your feed, you know it's from me. DSP lacks any kind of visual branding when it comes to his content. He has no specific font that ties to his channel, no color palette either. The only thing that has been consistent is having to suffer through that kids show intro every time we watch the Level 1 shitcast.
So that was thumbnail A, okay? Thumbnail B is what we're currently doing in the new year, whether or not you noticed it, okay? So thumbnail B, what happens is you still get a number, you still get the logo, but that's superimposed over a frame grab from the actual video. So it's video specific. So for example, if there's a big boss fight in the video, I'll probably take a frame grab of that boss fight, and that's what that would be. If there's a notable character who's introduced, if there's something important happening, that's what you'll see in the art there, okay? So that's what we're using right now is style B, okay? Now what you see here with style C is kind of a hybrid of the two, and what style C would be is very similar to what A was, but instead of using a static image that never changes, it would be a changeable image for each thumbnail.
I hate all three. If I had to choose, I guess A? It always bothers me when I see DSP have the logo under the number. I have studied graphic design in the past, so I know some of the basic rules when it comes to consistency. To be honest though, none of these look interesting enough to click on. They all look like thumbnails from 10 years ago. This channel has started off as a Let's Play channel as a response to Phil complaining how hard it is to make Let's Plays. The only hard part is getting viewers to watch Part 20 of Wind Waker or Part 30 of Baldur's Gate 3. It's going to be even harder for Phil to get those views as time goes on.
People are saying that B is the best. Like everyone is typing B, B, B in the chat right now live, okay? So if that's the case and you guys like style B, that's good news because that's what we're already using. All right, I just haven't talked about it. Like, I literally didn't mention it at all this year that we had changed the thumbnails. So, if you would like to see a certain thumbnail type, please let me know. Respond with a comment on this video on demand. I will weigh and balance your opinions. But it seems like, in general, people are liking B on the chat right now. A few are saying C, but most are actually saying B. Okay, and G-Turnal says ban anyone who says A. So it looks like 672 said A. So let me go right ahead, and I'm going to click right on 672's name. And he is permanently banned. All right, and he's never coming back. Very nice. Good job. Great suggestion. RAC says, or RAC says, yeah, B looks cleaner. Yeah, what I've noticed is with B, okay, it's cool because it's like, it feels like it's the game. but you also get to see what part of the game, you know, with the number and everything. I like that. It looks more natural, and I like that it changes, because much like what I've been doing with my titles over the years, where I'll, with the words, give you a preview what's in the video, in this case, you kind of get to see a visual of a preview of what's in the video.
DSP got to a point in his YouTube career where he can't decide on anything. Sometime in the future, we're going to see his chat completely control Phil. The Baldur's Gate 3 streams have just become Chat Plays BG3. I know why he does this, so he can shift blame to his audience and do the usual "nothing I could do" speech. I have never seen a content creator do this, put thumbnails on his streams and let the audience decide. He doesn't even make these himself, some dent does it for free.
Is that when you're doing thumbnails like this, you can add extra stuff on there if you need to. There's been a few thumbnails with me on them, because it's like a notable, my reaction during the video, I'm like, oh, or whatever. You can put me on there if that's the case. However, and yes, I will say this, Fed Roger brought up something very important, okay? And I feel like this is a huge important thing. Spoilers. Because some people over the years have big issues that if you do a thumbnail like this, you're going to create spoilers, okay?
You spoil games constantly, DSP. You talk about how far you are in the game on the shitty podcast every day. This is just something that you do, and it's always frustrating to listen to. No one actually cares what progress you are in a game, and it just isn't interesting to hear every single day. This is the problem when you ask for feedback on something like this. Everyone says different things and no one agrees with each other. It only puts you back to where you started, and sometimes you just have to suck it up and make your own choice. But DSP has no eye for design and is clueless with it, because this is a man with zero taste in all media.
If you want to have a truly descriptive, interesting thumbnail, you kind of have to spoil some of the video. At least that's my take, right? Wait, how else? You're not going to just show my character, Dark Scale Phil, in every thumbnail with a different face. What's the point? That's boring. You might as well just go back to A then, right? You might as well just go back to showing the same thing every thumbnail. So how do you avoid the spoilers, right? I don't know. Some people are saying, yeah, because of that no to B, that's why we wouldn't want B. So that seems to be, okay, no new characters and no bosses, I'm being told. But here's the thing. No new characters and no bosses. At what point is a character not new? The second part of a playthrough that they're in, not the first? You know what I mean? Like, how would you even judge that? Okay, so they were introduced in this part. But then if you showed them in the thumbnail of the next part, well, that's the spoiler. Because you didn't show them in the thumbnail of the previous part, so you still spoil. You see what I'm saying? Like, at some point, the thumbnails, if you're going to have that style of thumbnail, it's gonna show something. You know what I'm saying? $672 says, all right, just a blank white square from now on. It's perfect. You know what's funny? I never used to do thumbnails many years ago. It wasn't until, what was it, like 2016? Something like that? It wasn't until many years into me doing content, maybe the second or third year I was doing direct capture, I finally started doing my own thumbnails. I used to just let YouTube auto-generate all the thumbnails. And everyone had mixed feelings about that too. Some people were like, well, that's cool because it'll show like an action scene from the game. But some people would hate it because sometimes it would actually show like a boss fight. And people would be like, oh my God, that's like a giant spoiler of what's in that video. For me, it was always a mix. And the funny part is, here's the real funny part, okay? YouTube has a tendency to pick the worst frames of something and make it the thumbnail. So for example, I'm making like an hour-and-a-half podcast. But if at any moment during the podcast, I take my finger and I put it up my nose and I go like this, this is now the thumbnail for the podcast. No exaggeration. This will be the thumbnail if I let YouTube auto-generate, right? Or if like, oh, my ass itches, I go, oh, I pick my ass. That'll be the thumbnail.
This is a man with 15 years under his belt as a content creator. Yet he still uses YouTube to pick his own thumbnails. Also, thanks for the thumbnail, DSP. I really do appreciate it. Phil then goes into talking about titles. DSP has always had some of the worst titles for his videos. They're lazy, sometimes too long, and overly descriptive. There's lots of sources out there that can help you with titles. There's AI generators and title rating tools. There's YouTube channels dedicated to help your own channel grow. Instead, Phil asks his dads for help.
Just as important as the thumbnail, and that's the titling of videos, okay? So let's talk about the history of me titling videos, because this has actually changed a lot over the years. When I used to do playthroughs, it was literally the name of the game, playthrough, part, and the number. Done. And I did that from 2008, like all the way through like 2014 into 2015. And that, I mean, that's a long span of time to do that. Like, that's like 6-7 years of me making content that it was like that. And then all of a sudden, about halfway through my YouTube presence, people started to complain and said, Phil, you're like a dinosaur. You're outdated. Everything you do doesn't align with what everyone else is doing on YouTube. Aren't you aware that everyone says that kind of titling is outdated and bad? You're doing it wrong. What you need to do, you need to add additional information so people know what's in the video. Because, for example, let's say you're watching a giant playthrough and people want to know what part that epic boss fight is in. How would they ever know if all you have is part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6? They'll never know. Maybe if the auto-generated YouTube thumbnail is lucky enough to grab it, you would know. But a lot of times it's not. And then I started using those thumbnails that would be the same every video, so people would never know what was in the video, right? So the feedback that I received directly from all of you was, please add a descriptive portion of a thumbnail or of a title to a video. So to give you some examples, just I'm gonna pick my most recent videos here. Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough part 38, exploring the Arcane Tower, and I can't even read it. It's tiny. Oh my god. All right, let me bring it up on my laptop here. It's like microscopic over there. I can't even read it. Here we go. Let me refresh here. Okay, so let's try that again. Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough part 39. What lies at the top? And then sport people and an unlikely ally. So there you go. Part 37. Some camp turmoil. The trouble with turrets. So you kind of get oh, there's some trouble at the camp. I wonder what happened. I want to check that out. There was turrets somewhere. And the thing is, if you've already played the game, you can figure it out. Oh, the turrets, the infamous part of the game with the turrets is the Arcane Tower. So that must be where Phil is. And incidentally, part 38 says, exploring the Arcane Tower and some Gith lore. Ooh, I want to learn some lore about the Githyanki or Githyaki, whatever their name is. I should watch that part. You see? So because I add those little descriptive blurbs at the end of the videos, it allows people to know which parts they want to tune in. And maybe there's parts they outright just want to skip, because they're not finding it as interesting, right? And that's fine. So that's why I add those in there, okay?
None of these descriptions really help. That's what the description box is for, under the video. This is also what you can do with the tags. Put in certain areas that you're in with the tag and what boss you're fighting. Again, there's resources that talk about this in greater detail. DSP just needs to do some work for himself if he actually cares about his content, which he doesn't. DSP has become such a boomer and can't even decide what titles to pick. This is his legacy now. I'm sorry he had to sit through that, but I sat through it twice, so I had to share my suffering. If you got this far, I do appreciate it. And if you're a content creator, just remember, don't be a DSP.